The headquarters of Boston software company Infocom. The software writers are holding their regular technical meeting.
Well, I've got this spell in Spellbreaker that's turning out to be a serious source of bugs. It's called Gurgal, and what it does is stop time.
So what's going on internally when you cast a spell? I mean, the status line updates, the interrupts run?
Yeah, everything still happens to you because time is subjective, at least, well, in this game, time is subjective. The status line records your own subjective time, and it keeps advancing. So that's okay. The problem is just that all the interrupt routines, the things that would run periodically, like, a million tons of rock falling on your head, have to stop.
Infocom have won many awards for what they claim is a new art form known as interactive fiction. Their products differ from ordinary computer adventure games. The parsers are more sophisticated. That's the bit of the program that understands what you type in, so your instructions can almost be in ordinary English. And they're written to be read like novels. The company was started in 1979 by 10 adventure game addicts, who also happen to be researchers at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
We tried to find something small, something very manageable that we could start with. It wouldn't take a lot of work and would bring in some money and get us going. It turned out that the subject we chose, interactive fiction, did more than just bring in a little bit of money. It formed the basis of a major ongoing business.
Dave Liebling was another of the original 10. He wrote the latest game, Spellbreaker.
Spellbreaker is the third game in a trilogy in which, instead of playing an adventurer, you play a magician, and you advance from being an apprentice to being one of the most powerful magicians in the land.
A game like Spellbreaker is not written directly onto a computer. It starts life as a few ideas jotted on paper.
Initially, it's almost like writing a book. You come up with a plot. This is a civilization founded on magic, and magic has stopped working. And then you start thinking of logic puzzles and things which will advance the plot and at the same time provide intellectual stimulation for the people who are playing it.
The games are coded in a language called ZIL on a mainframe development system. ZIL stands for Zork Implementation Language, Zork being the name of Infocom's first product. And it's a descendant of the artificial intelligence language Lisp.
What makes ZIL special for that is that the language itself knows a lot about interactive fiction. And when I say knows, I mean built into the language are a lot of tools for manipulating objects and characters so that each writer doesn't have to start from scratch. Writers and programmers aren't necessarily the same sort of creatures. And you really want to give people who are writers the best tools you can to help them write interactive fiction because, as you say, it isn't like just writing with a pencil on a piece of paper.
But not everyone at Infocom gives the writers an easy time.
Debuggers, testers, their job is to make my life miserable. And in fact, they've done such a wonderful job of it that they have filled up an entire book with bugs from my game. And so far, they have contributed over 250 pages of bugs of my game. Just 5 bugs per page, pages and pages and pages.
Dave, I've got this great bug.
I wouldn't doubt it.
You walk into the octagonal room, and they're describing the 8 sides of the walls and the runes, and it gets to the south wall, and it just goes crazy. It says south, 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 and it just goes on for pages, and it doesn't stop.
What happened is I rewrote the thing that prints which walls have runes on them and tells the directions, and I bet I forgot to make it terminate. So, let me take a look. It's probably something very simple. So, why is it not terminating? It really ought to work. Oh well.
While Liebling wrestles with the bugs, the designers are putting the finishing touches to the Spellbreaker box. Infocom are renowned for their clever packaging, which often contains clues to help solve the puzzles. But strangely, the visuals don't extend to the screen. Infocom games are purely text.
I think there are no graphics in our interactive fiction for the same reason that most novels that you pick up in a store don't have graphics either, which is that the goal is basically for you to use your imagination to picture the scenes rather than trying to depict everything for you. And I think especially since most of the stories are sort of imaginative fiction anyway, I think to some extent if you look at the quality of graphics that you can get on your Apple or your IBM, what you mostly get are cartoon type graphics.
And a more commercial reason may be that without graphics, a condensed version of the compiled ZIL code can be tailored to run on virtually any micro, just by adding a short interpreter program.
When a new machine comes out, we get a different bunch of people, which are in our microcomputer support group, to write this relatively small program, this interpreter program for that new machine. And in fact, that's what we're doing now for the new Atari machine and the Amiga machine, which Commodore just announced. And in fact, it's a very small process. It's just a couple of months. And once that little interpreter program is written, our whole product line will then run on that machine without modification.
And finally, a sneak preview of one of the problems from Spellbreaker.
In one point in the game, there is an idol, a temple containing a basalt idol of great size and ferocious aspect. And you climb up the idol and look in its mouth. And when you look in its mouth, you find that indeed in the idol is a cube, except when you try to reach it, you find that there's not enough room for your arm to fit between its razor-sharp teeth. So the problem is, how do you get this silly cube out of the idol's mouth? For example, I tried taking it and you couldn't, so I can try open the mouth, and it says, not a chance. I can try hit the mouth with the knife. Now I have a knife. It says, I've known strange people, but fighting a mouth, that's silly. You could try magic. There's a magic spell which opens things. It says there's no hinge there. You can't open something without a hinge. It's not a door. So the problem was how to do it. And in fact, I was stumped myself. I came up with this idea. I invented the idol. I invented its mouth. So I thought about it for a while. I couldn't come up with an answer. So I talked to the other writers and got, as it turned out, some very good suggestions. For example, Steve Moretsky, who wrote some of our other games, said, well, you know, if you yawn, you're going to open your mouth. So that brought up the question of, well, how do you make a stone idol yawn? Which led to yet another possible additional complication, which is that you had to make the idol come to life, to animate, and then make the silly thing yawn. So in fact, that's what we implemented. So I would say Malion the idol. Malion animates an inanimate object. And it doesn't work. A bug immediately. Oh, of course. Yes, I know exactly what I did wrong. Stupidly, I'm sitting on the idol, and I brought it to life. Now, if you had a flea on you, you would find it and eradicate it pretty quickly. Well, the idol did exactly the same thing to me. Just goes to show that the writers of the games can't play them any better than anyone else.